Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're going to take a very short break from talking college football, and today we're going to talk a little bit of college basketball. Because, as I'm sure you all know, the NCAA Tournament is here. It is back, and it is starting today with the first four. We have 4 play-in games tonight, and then the round of 64, the first round of the NCAA Tournament, will begin tomorrow. It will run Friday through Saturday, the round of 32, Sunday through Monday, and then the following weekend we'll start the Sweet 16. So today, guys, we're going to take a look at the bracket. We're going to take a look at the entire field of right now, 68, the entire field of 68, and kind of share with you some teams that we think are obviously the favorites, but some teams that could be potential Cinderella teams. Watch out for some first round upsets, and at the end of it all, we're going to share our Final Four predictions. So we're not giving you a full game-by-game bracket prediction, but we are going to take a look at most of these games and kind of share some quick hitters, specifically in the first round. So, having said that, let's go ahead and take a look. Gridiron Expert March Madness brief preview. Let's start in the West region. Let's start with the number 1 overall seed, Gonzaga. And let me tell you, Gonzaga is without a doubt the clear-cut favorite to win the NCAA tournament this year. They are the clear-cut heavy favorite to win the national championship this year. And when you look at their path, guys, in the West region to get to the Final Four, it is very, very easy. It is very, very cut and dry. I mean, you look at what many would say is the second best team in that region. It's Iowa. Gonzaga beat them by 11 earlier in this season. The Bulldogs are undefeated. Jalen Suggs is unreal. Mark Few continuing to do a great job with his program. It's a very good chance that Gonzaga could run the table, win their first national championship, and finish the year undefeated. Unbeaten, I believe it would be at 32-0. When you're looking at the rest of that West region, though, guys, you look at a couple upsets. It comes in the 5-12, 4-13 matchups. Start with the 5-12 matchup, California-Santa Barbara. The Gauchos could take down the 5th-seeded Creighton Blue Jays. Very well could take down Creighton. They're a very good defensive team. They can shoot the ball extremely well. They finished 22-4 in the Big West. Finished the year on an 18-1 run. Went 18-1 to close out the year. We saw how bad Creighton ended their year. Blowout loss to Georgetown in the Big East Championship game. One game does not define a season. One game does not mean that Creighton's going to play just like that in the NCAA tournament. But one team is hot, I would say, the Gauchos. One team is not, the Blue Jays. Watch out for that upset there. Definitely watch out for the 4-13 upset. The reigning national champions, remember, we did not have a tournament last year, so the reigning national champions, Virginia, the Cavaliers, in as a 4 seed, could very well fall to Ohio, the 13 seed. Virginia is dealing with a bunch of COVID issues. Their game is supposed to be played on Saturday. There's a good chance they will not arrive in Indianapolis until Friday. They're dealing with a bunch of COVID issues, and Ohio has a very electric player that you probably have never heard of, Jason Preston. Absolutely ridiculous player. Can do everything for this Bobcats team. Almost willed them to a win over Illinois earlier in the year, only falling to the Fighting Illini by 2. Only by 2. And with Virginia not having a lot of practice time, maybe down a few key starters, the Bobcats are very capable of pulling off this upset. And depending on what happened in the Creighton-Santa Barbara game, the Bobcats could make a run to the Sweet 16. It's not that far-fetched. The rest of the bracket, we're not going to touch on every game again, but I really, really like USC in the West region. I think the Trojans have a very good chance of making the Sweet 16. Evan Mobley is absolutely ridiculous. He's a beast out west with the Trojans. They're a 6 seed. They should have enough to take down Wichita State or Drake, the winner of that play-in game. Then they'll advance to the second round where they're more than likely to take on Kansas, a Kansas team that's dealing with COVID issues, just like Virginia. I think USC can take down Kansas. Again, for teams that have players that are injured, for teams that are dealing with COVID issues, they better pray they have enough to get to the Sweet 16 because those injuries and COVID issues probably will not get resolved in between the one day they have between the round of 64 and the round of 32. So I like USC to win their first game. Think they could take down Kansas. I also like Oregon over VCU, and watch out for Dana Altman and the Ducks. Very, very talented. They might be a little underseeded here as a 7, and they can take down Iowa in the round of 32. Looking at the East region, moving down a little bit. Again, quick hitters. Michigan. The major question for them is, will Isaiah Livers be okay? He's one of those key players we mentioned that's dealing with an injury right now, and there's a good chance that he might not be okay for their opening round matchup against Mount St. Mary's or Texas Southern. And that 1 day of rest in between that and their second round game against LSU or St. Bonaventure probably isn't going to be enough to heal him. So if he's not good to go, Michigan is on upset alert in round 2, where I think they take on LSU, a team led by Trendon Watford, Cam Thomas, averaged 22.8 points per game, and Javonte Smart. This LSU team is very, very physical. Their defense has gotten better every single week after a very rough start to the year. They can score at will, one of the best offenses within the SEC. Watch out for them. If Michigan's not at full strength, if Michigan plays like they have towards the back end of the season, bad loss to Illinois, at home, without Io, and then, of course, losing in the Big Ten tournament to Ohio State, they could lose in the second round. You could see a number 1 seed get taken out very, very early. I'm right now not buying Georgetown over Colorado. A lot of people love that 5-12 upset right there. I'm not buying it. I don't think the Hoyas have enough to take down the Buffaloes. They're very efficient, and there's something to be said for dead momentum. Georgetown was on fire in the Big East tournament, but they're going to have about a week off between that and their game against Colorado. The momentum and that hotness, that team that was on fire, can cool off, and I think that's exactly what happens. I'm not buying the Georgetown hype right now. I do think BYU in the sixth seeded game against Michigan State or UCLA, I think if the Cougars get UCLA, they win. I think if they get Michigan State, they lose. This is a BYU team that, again, gave Gonzaga all they could handle in the West Coast Conference Championship game. All they could handle in that championship game. They're not to be overlooked. But we're talking about Tom Izzo here. We're talking about a Michigan State team that knows how to win in the postseason. And I think if it's BYU and the Spartans can very well make a run, get past that game, and maybe get to the Sweet 16 if they get past Texas, who should take down Abilene Christian. And then finally, in the bottom part of the East region, I got UConn over Maryland. I really, really like the Huskies right now. Excellent defense, excellent guard play. You got James Bouknight, RJ Cole. Those two guys are the leaders of this team. Bouknight obviously is the biggest catalyst, I think, for the Huskies. They need him more than anybody else if they want to try to make a run in this tournament, and they could make a run. Don't be surprised if UConn upsets Alabama, assuming the Crimson Tide get past Iona and Rick Pitino. Do not be surprised if the Huskies pull off that upset in the round of 32. To beat Alabama, you have to have strong perimeter defense, and you have to have guys that can match Alabama step for step in that electric offense. UConn can do that. Do not be surprised. I'm not saying I'm picking UConn, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if we see another magical Cinderella run from the Huskies like we've seen many times before. Over in the South region, Baylor is the 1 seed there. They're doing a great job. I mean, Scott Drew is absolutely phenomenal. And he has really done a great job, I think, of bringing back all the key pieces for the Bears. You know, after the tournament was canceled last year, Baylor was going to be a 1 seed. They were going to be a national title favorite. And many thought that those key players that were going to do that were going to bolt for the NBA. They didn't. Jared Butler, Machio Teague, Davion Mitchell, all of those guys are back for the Bears, and they're a favorite to win it all this year. One of my favorites, without a doubt. Their path is relatively easy as well. North Carolina, Wisconsin in the round of 32 will be difficult for the Bears, especially if they play North Carolina, who is the best offensive rebounding team in the country. But I still don't think they're going to have enough to beat Baylor. UNC has been very, very inconsistent, as we've seen. They get one huge, high-quality win and then lose to an inferior opponent. Which UNC team is going to show up in this NCAA tournament? The most popular 5-12 upset that we're hearing throughout this entire tournament, as my favorite 5-12 upset, is Winthrop, the 12 seed Eagles, upsetting the Wildcats of Villanova at the 5. That is my favorite 5-12 upset. The majority of my brackets actually have Winthrop taking down Villanova because, as we all know, the Wildcats are without their leading scorer, or one of their leading scorers, Colin Gillespie. We know they're going to be without Colin Gillespie. He was the leader of this Villanova team. He was their go-to player for this Villanova team. He's been out for a while, and we've seen how bad they've been struggling. An early out in the Big East tournament, a season-ending loss to Providence. Villanova is on upset alert. Even if they beat Winthrop, I don't think they get past Purdue in the round of 32. A Purdue team that I think takes easy care of North Texas. Texas Tech and Utah State, underrated matchup, a potential 11-6 upset. But remember, Texas Tech, they were the national runner-up 2 years ago. Fell in overtime to Virginia in the national championship game. Chris Beard is not going to allow for an early exit, at least not a first-day exit. Mac McClung is too good for that, and we know how great Texas Tech's defense is. This is a game that maybe won't even exceed 70 points from either team. I think the Red Raiders have just enough to get past the Aggies. Same goes for Arkansas. A lot of people want to pick Colgate over the Razorbacks. I'm not seeing it. It's not happening. Colgate's a good team. They're a fast team, they're a physical team, and they can shoot the ball extremely well. But their strength of schedule is extremely weak. And the thing is, Arkansas can match Colgate's offense. All the analysts out there are saying this could be first team to 100 wins the game. Possibly. It's going to be fast-paced. You're going to see a lot of points scored, especially from the three-point line. But unlike Colgate, Arkansas can play defense. Colgate has one of the worst defenses in the country. Arkansas has a top 15 defense. Eric Musselman and the Razorbacks get the job done in the round of 64. Ohio State wins the 2-seeded game over Oral Roberts. And you look at Florida, Virginia Tech. This is a tough game for me. But when you really break it down, guys, how can you not pick Florida? Florida seems better coached. They seem to have more talent. Virginia Tech had 5 of their last 8 games canceled for COVID. They lost 2 of those 3 games that they did play. They started 13-3, had an abysmal finish. Virginia Tech, to me, is extremely overrated. They have nothing there. And while this game could be close because Florida's not what they used to be, they're not losing to the Gators, or the Gators are not losing to the Hokies in round 1. So I've got Ohio State, Florida in the round of 32. And then rounding out the Midwest region, Illinois is the 1 seed there. Illinois is the 1 seed there, led by their star player, Ayo Dosunmu. And then, of course, Kofi Cockburn, who many believe is like the modern-day Shaq, the closest thing that we have to a college version of Shaquille O'Neal. And Illinois proved to us just a few weeks ago that they can win without Dosunmu. They showed us that they can win without him, with that dominant win on the road at Michigan. So Illinois should be a lock for the round of 32, obviously defeating Drexel. I would be surprised if they're put out anywhere earlier than the Sweet 16, because I just don't think Loyola Chicago or Georgia Tech has enough to defeat the Fighting Illini. I do have Loyola Chicago winning that game. Their defense allows just 55.5 points per game is unreal. And Porter Moser, while they might not have a magical Final Four run that they did a few years ago, will get this team another NCAA tournament win. Tennessee over Oregon State. Oregon State, like Georgetown, is one of those 12 seeds that I'm just not buying right now. They got that automatic bid because they had a Cinderella run through their conference tournament. They don't have enough to beat Tennessee, even if Tennessee is without John Fulkerson, because Tennessee, without him in the SEC tournament, almost beat Alabama in the SEC semifinals. Tennessee's a dang good team. Even though they weren't the 2 seed, 3 seed that people thought they might be back in the preseason, this is a dang good team that has Sweet 16 capabilities. Oregon State's not going to be the team to knock them off. Again, the momentum has died for the Beavers. Oklahoma State Liberty. The Cowboys were wrongly underseeded. Are you kidding me? A 4 seed? Joe Lunardi had them at a 2. They were strongly underseeded, and I think they're going to take out that frustration on Liberty. Liberty's a great 3-point shooting team. They shoot 39.1% from the 3-point line. They're fantastic from beyond the arc. But Oklahoma State has arguably the number 1 draft pick in the NBA draft, and that's Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham is absolutely ridiculous. He can take over a game at any time for Oklahoma State. He's going to do that here against Liberty. And I'm telling you guys, Oklahoma State is a team that can make the Elite Eight. Oklahoma State can knock off Illinois. If you're looking for 2 teams, 2 number 1 seeds that could lose early, we're talking earlier would probably be before the Elite Eight, it's Michigan and Illinois. Those are the 2 1 seeds that can see themselves get upset early. LSU possibly over Michigan, Oklahoma State possibly over Illinois. And if you don't like the LSU over Michigan pick, it very well could be Florida State over Michigan in that Sweet 16. So you better watch out for that. San Diego State over Syracuse. Syracuse is the trendy upset pick, kind of like Michigan State here. An 11 seed, a blue blood program, a great head coach in Boeheim. But again, San Diego State has a top 10 defense. They're unbelievable on the defensive side of the ball, and they can score. They're not just great defense like Texas Tech, who's great defense but can't shoot. San Diego State can do it all. And I think they're going to have enough to take down the Orange here. What should be a close 6-11 game. The winner of that, we believe, will be San Diego State. Takes on West Virginia, who should get past Morehead State, but do not be surprised, guys, if this is a 3-14 upset. Morehead State took down Belmont twice, 2 times in a row, earlier this year out of the Ohio Valley Conference. That's a very impressive, guys. Belmont was a dang good team, a 26-win team. A guy that I thought was going to get the automatic qualifier, but got murdered in their conference championship game. West Virginia, if they don't bring their A game, will fall to Morehead State, but we're not predicting that. Houston should take down Cleveland State. Final matchup, Clemson-Rutgers, going with the Scarlet Knights. How can you not? How can you not choose Rutgers, who's making their first NCAA appearance since 1991? They're going to make the most of it by beating a very inconsistent Clemson team. A Clemson team that's great defensively, but is so inconsistent offensively. Rutgers can do a mixture of both. And honestly, I prefer the team in basketball right now that has the better offense. That's the Scarlet Knights. Ron Harper Jr., Jacob Young, Paul McCullough, all those guys are unbelievable for Rutgers. A major reason for why they are back in the NCAA tournament after 30 years. 30 years they have not been. They should have been in there last year. They were able to get back this year, rightfully so. And Rutgers is a team that might be that feel-good Cinderella story, at least for 2021. Getting one tournament win needs to be the key, and they are going to get it over the Clemson Tigers. So having broken down all of that, guys, 4 different regions, all the different teams, we've shared some teams that we think we could have a Cinderella run. We shared some teams that we think are going to be the favorites, and we shared some teams that could get put out earlier than expected. What are our final 4 predictions? Final 4 predictions are somewhat bland because for some of these teams, it looks pretty cut and dry. I like Gonzaga. We mentioned that the Bulldogs are the heavy favorite to win it all, and their path is very, very simple. The Bulldogs are going to the Final 4. I've got the winner. Listen to this. I've got the winner of Texas and Alabama in the Sweet 16. The winner of Texas and Alabama making the Final 4. So I'm cheating a little bit. I am cheating just a little bit. But whoever wins that game between the Longhorns and the Crimson Tide, they will win in the Elite 8. They will get to the Final 4, which means they might possibly have to defeat Michigan. And they are capable of doing that. Texas, Shaka Smart, do not overlook them. Then I've got the other 2 1 seeds. Baylor will get to the Final 4. They have a relatively easy region. They might have to play Ohio State in the Elite 8. The Buckeyes are not capable of taking down the Bears. And then, of course, in the Midwest region, we have Illinois making the Final 4. Oklahoma State might be their toughest test because I think Houston might be a tad bit overrated. If Illinois gets past Oklahoma State, assuming the Cowboys even get to the Sweet 16, the Fighting Illini will be in the Final 4. We've got Gonzaga versus Baylor for the national championship. And we have the Bulldogs winning the whole thing in what should be an instant classic. So guys, March Madness is back. March Madness is back. We've had 2 years off. It's been 2 years since we've had an NCAA tournament. It feels good. I've been having withdrawals, but it feels good. Go out, make your bracket. You've got the rest of the day to make one. Then Friday, the game starts, so jump on it. Make as many as you can and savor this moment, guys, because again, just like college football, this was something that we didn't think was going to be possible a year ago. This time last year, we all were devastated because they had just canceled the tournament. It's amazing how quickly things can change. So enjoy it. March Madness is here. This was our Gridiron Expert brief March Madness preview. Enjoy all the games and get ready for more football coverage because we're going to be switching right back to that very, very soon. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Also, check out everything down in the description below. We've got so much exclusive content for you, including our brand new Gridiron Expert podcast. Make sure to go give that a listen. All the links for those platforms down in the description. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.